Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. There's an interesting statement in the Talmud. The great sage Shmuel said to his student, Rabbi Yehuda, this world that we're journeying through, kibei hiluladami, it's like a wedding. It's like a big party. Chatof achol, grab and eat. Chatof ushti, grab and drink. And the question is, this quote sounds very similar to the quote that says, eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you may die. Is that what the great sage Shmuel was telling his student? Eat and drink and have a party, enjoy every moment of life, because this world is like a wedding? And why the example of a wedding? So the commentaries explain that what he was saying was that life is fleeting, life is short, and therefore you have to seize the moment. Sometimes people are always thinking long term. As they say, they're saving up for a rainy day. But they're so busy saving up for a rainy day that they don't enjoy all the sunshine days. And so the rabbi was telling his student, don't delay, don't procrastinate, don't postpone things. Enjoy every day, every moment of life. But why use the analogy of a wedding? If you want to say life is short and fleeting, say that life is like a bar mitzvah maybe, or life is like a thunderstorm or a sun shower. What is the analogy of a wedding? And a beautiful interpretation is, in the Torah portions we're reading, God tells Moshe, I'm going to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. But then he says, I'm going to take them as my nation. In other words, the freedom was a two-step process. First, they will leave the physical bondage and slavery of Egypt. But then they will go to Mount Sinai, where I will take them as my nation. And as we know, that Mount Sinai was like a marriage canopy. And the Torah is like the ketubah, the contract. And God proposed to us, and we accepted his proposal, and we became his nation. And 3,300 years later, we are still in a union of fidelity, loyalty, trust, and faith in God, and God has trust and faith in us. And therefore, what it's saying is life is like a wedding. You know, when you go to a wedding, it's beautiful. There's music, there's flowers, there's the caterer, a beautiful celebration. But imagine you come to a wedding and they say the bride and the groom called it off. They're not getting married. But the guests, the hundreds of guests say, you know what? Let's have a party. Let's eat. Let's drink. Let's get to the dance floor. Let's have a good time. That would be grotesque. That would be despicable. If there's no bride and groom, what's the celebration all about? Yes, if there's a bride and a groom pledging their love to one another, to build a marriage, to build a family, that's so beautiful and inspiring. That's worth making a big party and dancing and celebrating all night. But if there's no bride and groom getting married, there's no love at the heart of the celebration, there's no union, then it's a meaningless, frivolous, pointless celebration. And that is what the Rabbi Shmuel was telling his student. Life is like a wedding. What does that mean? Life is full of joy, full of pleasure, full of happiness. But what is the essence of life? The union, the relationship between God and the Jewish people, the Torah. And as long as there's that loving couple, there's that loving union of God and the Jewish nation, then all of life has meaning and purpose. Even the eating and the drinking and the dancing and the partying has meaning because it's all centered around a higher purpose in life, a spiritual quest to relate and unite with God. But if you're missing the union, if you're missing the marriage, then what is life? It's empty, it's meaningless, it's frivolous, it's almost obscene to celebrate without the heart and the soul and the meaning of life, which is our relationship, our love, our loyalty to God. One of the hostages that went free this past Saturday is a young girl by the name of Daniela Gilboa. And it was so heartwarming to see these 4 girls come home to their family. But one of the beautiful unions and reunions was Daniela with her boyfriend of 7 years from high school sweethearts, whose name is Roy Dadon. And when you saw Daniela and Roy fall into each other's arms and weep uncontrollably as they were reunited after 15 months of separation. And something fascinating that happened 10 months ago was that her boyfriend Roy took a Torah scroll and went with his family and friends to the border of Gaza, and they were singing and celebrating, embracing the Torah. And there on the border of Gaza, holding a Torah, he yelled out and he said, Daniela tinasili, which is a proposal. Daniela, will you marry me? He proposed marriage to her on the border of Gaza, calling out to her and saying, I want to marry you. And now she comes back 15 months later, and God willing, they will get married. And I thought about this, and I said, this is what God did. He proposed marriage to the Jewish people when we were still in captivity, when we were still hostages in Egypt, we were still slaves. And he said, I want to marry you. And we will go to Mount Sinai. And let us always remember that. Our life and our purpose is all about spreading light and love in our relationships with God and one another. If we do that, then life takes on meaning. Even the mundane aspects of eating and drinking and partying and dancing is all elevated because it has a higher purpose. It's our relationship with God, as God says in this week's Torah portion, just like young Daniela and Roy showed us all that nothing can break the bonds of love between one another. Have a meaningful, beautiful day.